Welcome to Things You Don't Know. Today's episode starts a new series of topics that might be better classified as things nobody knows as we investigate modern mysteries and popular enigmatic issues also. To be clear, just because we explore a topic does not mean we have joined the conspiracies or any other things, or that we're advocating for belief, or conversely, that we're saying something is invalid. Today, we're diving into one of our most requested and mind bending topics: aliens. Specifically, the theories that ancient extraterrestrials visited Earth long ago, that aliens might be hiding among us today, secret government contacts with ETs, and even whether alien technology has boosted our military advancements. We'll sift through historical accounts, expert opinions, and conspiracy theories, all while keeping a healthy dose of skepticism. Buckle up, and this is going to be one fascinating ride.
Hello to our curious listeners. This topic has it all. History, my favorite thing. Science, conspiracies, and it definitely stirs the imagination. We'll be playing detective, examining claims of ancient astronauts, asking if ETs walk among us, exploring rumors of government cover ups, and questioning if some modern technology is literally out of this world. And don't worry, folks, for every wild theory, we'll throw in some healthy skepticism and hard questions. Let's jump right into it.
First up, the ancient astronaut theory. The idea that extraterrestrials visited Earth in antiquity and influenced human civilizations. One of the most famous proponents of this idea is Erich von Däniken, who wrote Chariots of the Gods back in 1968. In that book, he claimed that human history was shaped by visitors from outer space, and that these aliens even interbred with humans, leaving proof in ancient archaeological sites. According to von Däniken, things like the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, or the Nazca lines in Peru might be evidence of alien contact or assistance. It's a captivating idea. I mean, who hasn't looked at a massive stone structure and wondered, did humans really build that alone?
It is captivating, but as an investigator, I have to ask, where is the evidence? Mainstream archaeologists and scholars have been extremely skeptical of von Daniken's claims. They point out that his arguments often rely on flawed logic and essentially no concrete evidence. In fact, many experts outright call it pseudoscience. One science writer described ancient alien theories as far fetched, evidence free ideas, essentially a nice way of saying a bunch of speculation without hard proof. For example, take the pyramids. Archaeologists have tons of evidence of how they were built by human labor and ingenuity. We don't actually need aliens to explain them.
That's a great point. Believers might say ancient myths about gods descending from the sky were actually describing alien visitors. Sounds reasonable. They often cite texts like the Indian Mahabharata or Mayan legends as possible encounters with advanced beings. But again, historians usually interpret these stories as metaphor or mythology rather than a literal truth. There's just a real lack of physical evidence. We don't find ancient tools that are clearly extraterrestrial, just impressive human made artifacts. So while the ancient aliens idea is fun to imagine and has taken pop culture by storm, hello, History Channel's Ancient Aliens, it remains speculative. Critics remind us that no peer reviewed archaeological discovery has confirmed an ancient extraterrestrial visitation.
Exactly. And importantly, suggesting aliens built these wonders can even undermine human accomplishments. Some archaeologists argue it's a bit insulting, like saying ancient people couldn't possibly have done amazing things on their own. As a person with a disability who's often been underestimated, I can relate to that. Still, I have to admit, when you see those perfectly aligned giant stone blocks in places like Pumapunku in Bolivia, it does make you scratch your head. Without technology, how did they do it?
It sure does. That sense of mystery keeps the ancient astronaut theory alive. And there are odd little out of place artifacts people mention, like the so called Baghdad battery. That one has often kind of puzzled me a bit. Or the Antikythera mechanism. Though those have fairly terrestrial explanations, it still sort of makes you scratch your head. So, ancient aliens, a tantalizing theory, but so far, all smoke and no fire on the evidence front. As investigators, we have to side with the evidence, and right now, the evidence points to human ingenuity with maybe a dash of exaggeration in ancient legends rather than ET construction crews.
Well said. And it's worth noting even von Daniken himself faced a lot of criticism. He was basically proposing a possibility and asking questions rather than presenting solid proof. Archaeologists remain unconvinced, calling the ancient alien idea nonsense without scientific backing. Until some alien tool or spaceship from antiquity turns up in a dig, this theory stays in the realm of speculation.
Okay, now let's fast forward to the present. Some people claim that aliens are not only visiting occasionally, they might actually be living among us right here and right now. It sounds like science fiction, but you do hear these stories. Formal officials and whistleblowers sometimes come out with astonishing statements. For example, Paul Hellyer, he was Canada's Minister of Defense in the 60s. Later in life became a believer in UFOs. He famously said he believes at least 4 species of aliens have been visiting Earth for thousands of years. Hellyer even claims some of these extraterrestrials are on planets in our solar system, like Mars or Venus, and that they would help us more if we weren't so warlike. Those are his words.
4 species of aliens visiting Earth, living on Venus and Saturn's moons. That's a lot to take in. It's a pretty extraordinary claim coming from a former high-ranking official. Hellyer made headlines with those claims, and he's not alone. Over the years, a few astronauts, military personnel, and scientists have hinted they think aliens are here. There are also those really out there theories, like the famous conspiracy theorist David Icke, suggesting shape-shifting reptilian aliens are posing as human leaders.
Oh my goodness.
That one is really far out on the fringe, basically modern folklore with no evidence. It's important to distinguish entertaining that kind of conspiracy lore from someone like Hellier, who held an actual responsible government position.
Right. And even in Hellier's case, no evidence was provided. It was based on his personal belief and some reports that he had heard. To be honest, governments are not endorsing these ideas. Hellier's claims were never confirmed by any corroborating evidence or official agency. In fact, they're largely dismissed by scientists. It does make you wonder, though, if aliens were living among us, how would we know? Some speculate they could disguise themselves or even genetically blend in. Others take a more rigid scientific angle and talk about a shadow biosphere, undiscovered life forms on Earth that might be alien microbes. But once again, that's really theoretical.
Let's not forget pop culture's take. Movies like the Men in Black series, one of my favorites, by the way, riffed on the idea that aliens live among us in secret, monitored by government agents. The origin of that idea actually comes from real life UFO lore. Back in the late 40s and 50s, some UFO witnesses reported being visited by mysterious men in black who warned them not to talk. Some folks thought those beings could have been aliens in disguise, or perhaps government agents protecting an alien secret. It's a spooky thought, but like everything else here, it's hard to separate truth from urban legend.
Exactly. And as investigators, we have to ask, where are the documents, the DNA tests, the smoking gun? Well, thus far, they're missing. Every so often, someone claims to have seen an alien walking among us, but these anecdotes never come with verifiable proof. So while the idea of hidden extraterrestrials is fascinating, it remains firmly in the realm of speculation and conspiracy theory. It's one of those cases where extraordinary claims would require extraordinary evidence, and we just don't have that evidence publicly available.
Agreed. Still, I find it interesting that highly credible people have been open to these possibilities. For instance, Edgar Mitchell, who was an Apollo 14 astronaut, said he was, quote, privileged enough to be in on the fact, unquote, that we've been visited and UFOs are real, alleging a cover up for decades. Now, when someone who's literally walked on the moon says things like that, people are more likely to pay attention. Mitchell believed that a lot of UFO encounters were covered up by governments around the world for at least the past 60 years. NASA officially denied those assertions. They even put out a statement saying, no, we're not hiding aliens. But it shows that even insiders can suspect there's more happening than meets the eye.
Several reputable scientists, including Albert Einstein, have considered the possibility of extraterrestrial life, though Einstein was not himself very vocal about it. Einstein did not extensively discuss the existence of alien life, but in 1920, he commented on the possibility in an interview saying, quote, why should the Earth be the only planet supporting human life? It is not singular in any other respect, unquote. While this isn't a definitive endorsement, it suggests he was open to the idea that life could exist elsewhere. However, let's be real, Einstein's primary focus was on physics rather than astrobiology.
Many other scientists have this view. Carl Sagan, the famous head of the Cosmos program, was a strong proponent of extraterrestrial life. He argued that given the vastness of the universe, life elsewhere is highly probable. He worked on the famous Drake equation, which estimates the number of extraterrestrial civilizations in our galaxy. Stephen Hawking believed in the possibility of alien life, but he warned against trying to contact them because he suggested that those advanced civilizations might be hostile. Frank Drake, the founder of the SETI program, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, he formulated the Drake equation to estimate the likelihood of intelligent life elsewhere. Enrico Fermi, while not necessarily arguing directly for life beyond Earth, Fermi's famous Fermi paradox questions why, despite the high probability of alien life, we have yet to observe any clear evidence. Michio Kaku, a modern theoretical physicist who supports the idea that life likely exists on exoplanets, he suggests that the discovery of extraterrestrial life is barely a matter of time.
Today, scientific consensus is that microbial life elsewhere is probable, given the discovery of thousands of exoplanets and habitable zones. Advanced civilizations, however, remain a mystery due to the lack of evidence. Now, it's true that Mitchell's comments gave a bit of legitimacy in the public eye to these theories, even though he was speaking from personal conviction rather than evidence. It does keep the question open. If aliens are here, how would we confirm it? Until something definitive comes out, like, say, an alien individual coming forward on live TV, in which he would be, his sanity would be questioned, I'm sure. This idea will keep hovering in that gray area of possible but unproven. On to the next big theme. Has any government made contact with aliens or recovered alien craft? If you've heard of Area 51, Roswell, or Project Blue Book, you know where this is headed. Let's start with Roswell, New Mexico, 1947. The grandmother of all UFO conspiracy stories. In July of 47, a rancher named Mac Brazel found strange debris in a field, and the local Air Force base announced that they had a flying disc in custody. Pretty sensational. But literally the next day, the Army Air Force changed their story and said, "Oh no, it was just a weather balloon." um, that seems very peculiar indeed. You know, the incident was essentially closed for decades after that, at least officially. However, that they advanced the notion of this conspiracy by making Area 51 closed. You couldn't get in there, you couldn't see anything. Heavily guarded, heavily guarded.
Of course, years later, Roswell became legendary. What really happened? The military's explanation now is that it wasn't just a weather balloon, but rather a top secret balloon project called Project Mogul, meant to spy on Soviet nuclear tests. In other words, they couldn't tell the full truth in 1947 at the beginning of the Cold War, so they gave a cover story. According to a Smithsonian historian, admitting that it was an exotic Mongol balloon was harder than letting people think it might be a flying saucer. Ironically, that secrecy just fueled more rumors. People speculated the wreckage was an alien spacecraft and that the government hid alien bodies from a crash, and thus the modern UFO conspiracy era was born.
Right. Roswell really set the template. Debris in the desert, military cover up, decades of speculation. Now jump ahead. The U.S. Air Force eventually got serious about UFOs because so many people were reporting them. They ran Project Blue Book in the 1950s and 60s, investigating thousands of UFO sightings. When they shut it down in 1969, they concluded a few key things. No UFO investigated ever posed a threat. None of the unexplained ones showed technology beyond our own, which seems a little specious because even at the time they said some of the maneuvers of these UFOs was beyond our technology. And crucially, that there was no evidence that any sightings were alien spacecraft. In short, the official stance was no ET contact. They chalked most sightings up to misidentified planes, stars, and even secret spy planes. And indeed, some UFO reports back then were later explained by flights of the U-2 and other classified aircraft.
That's the official word, and that was largely that until relatively recently. Interestingly, in just the last few years, the whole UFO topic, now rebranded as UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena, has come back into government focus. The Pentagon even set up a new office to investigate these sightings. And guess what? Their latest reports still say they found no credible evidence of alien origin in any of it. We had a report in 2021 and another in 2022 and 23 detailing military UFO sightings. Some do remain unexplained, but nothing screaming alien tech, according to officials. One recent Pentagon report in 2024 stressed again no confirmed extraterrestrial technology in our skies or in crashes.
Yet the speculation persists. There are tons of unconfirmed stories, like the classic one about President Eisenhower supposedly having a secret meeting with aliens in 1954, or the alleged Majestic 12 documents, which purport a secret committee dealing with alien affairs. Those tales are unverifiable and widely considered hoaxes by historians. But it's true that military pilots and even astronauts have seen things they can't explain. Governments, especially the US, kept a lot of UFO files classified for a long time, possibly because of the Cold War or not wanting to reveal surveillance technology. That secrecy feeds the idea that they know something we don't.
It certainly does. And sometimes officials do wink at the idea. We mentioned Edgar Mitchell already. There's also a famous quote from an old Air Force officer, Ben Rich of Lockheed, which UFO buffs love to cite. Quote, "We now have the technology to take ET home," he supposedly said. "It's anecdotal, but stuff like that just keeps interest high. Plus, consider the recent congressional hearings where Navy pilots talked about encountering weird tic-tac shaped objects. Even if these aren't alien, the fact that the government is talking about it openly now is pretty new."
Definitely. To sum up this part, there's no confirmed public evidence that any government has actually met with aliens or recovered their craft, at least according to official records and investigations. But A combination of real military secrecy, unexplained encounters, and a few outspoken insiders has created a rich ground for conspiracy theories. It keeps people asking, what aren't they telling us? And who knows? Maybe files we haven't seen yet hide something truly paradigm shifting. Until those see the light of day, if they do exist, we have to take these claims with a grain of salt.
Now, let's explore one of my favorite angles, the idea that some of our modern technology might be reverse engineered from alien tech. This is where conspiracy and science fiction really blend. The most famous account here comes from a man named Colonel Philip J. Corso. He wrote a book in 1997. It's called The Day After Roswell, where he claims he was assigned to analyze wreckage from the Roswell crash. According to Corso, the U.S. Army had bits of alien technology, and by studying them, we indirectly got inventions like fiber optic cables, lasers, integrated circuit chips used for computers, and even Kevlar body armor. Now, that's a heck of a claim, basically saying aliens sparked the tech revolution of the late 20th century.
Yeah, it is a heck of a claim. Corso even suggests things like the Strategic Defense Initiative, or Star Wars missile defense, in the Reagan era were influenced by knowledge of alien tech, despite the fact that it was not a success. Now, if true, that would be revolutionary history. But let's be clear, Corso's stories are not verified by any independent evidence. His book was controversial. Many in the military and UFO research community are skeptical of it. There's no doubt technologies like integrated circuits and fiber optics had documented development paths in human labs. For example, the transistor, the building block of modern electronics, was invented at Bell Labs, and we have the papers to prove it. There's no need for alien input on this one.
Exactly. Skeptics would say Corso's narrative is a fun what if, but not fact. Still, it's interesting how he specifically lists technologies that seem to appear very quickly in the mid and late 20th century. Some people look at the rapid advance from, say, vacuum tube computers to microchips just 20 years later and joke, did we get a little help? But again, the paper trail of patents and decades of research is pretty clear for those inventions. No alien artifacts have shown up in any patent office as far as we know.
Another name that always comes up in this area is Bob Lazar. In 1989, he came forward claiming he worked at a secret facility, S4, near Area 51, to reverse engineer alien spacecraft. Lazar described an alien reactor fueled by an element he called 115, which interestingly was later actually synthesized by scientists and named moscovium, but it's highly unstable. He also said he read documents about aliens influencing human history for 10,000 years. His story brought a lot of attention to Area 51 and the idea that the US had saucers in a bunker. But here's the kicker: Lazar never provided evidence, and investigative reporters found his claimed educational credentials and employment were likely fabricated. Even some UFO believers distance themselves from his tales now.
Right. Laser is a polarizing figure. A fascinating story with very little corroboration. Area 51, though, certainly is a real U.S. Air Force testing site, and its secrecy during the Cold War was legitimate. They tested spy planes like the U-2 and later stealth aircraft there. Because it's so secretive, it became synonymous with UFO lore and alleged alien tech. Conspiracy theories allege alien craft or tech from crashes like Roswell ended up at Area 51 to be studied or even flown. The Air Force has never acknowledged anything like that, of course. To them, Area 51 was just about cutting edge human tech, which was often mistaken for UFOs by the public, by the way.
Indeed, one funny twist is that some UFO sightings in the 60s were likely the testing of our own advanced aircraft. So, in a way, the real alien technology influencing the military might just be human innovation and misdirection. But to stay on topic, as of now, there's no publicly verified evidence that any military possesses alien made devices or weapons. The Pentagon's recent statements, as you mentioned, explicitly say they have no evidence of alien materials or technologies in UAP cases. If they do have something hidden away, they're keeping a tight lid on it.
It's also worth remembering extraordinary tech tends to leave a trace. If alien microchips were being used, you'd expect at least a whisper in scientific circles. Instead, what we see is scientists and engineers coming up with explanations for UFO phenomena that don't require alien gadgets. Drones, balloons, optical illusions, even radar glitches. These can explain a lot of sightings. I think a critical view is healthy. Assume it's human or natural until proven otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of disappointing in a way. The folklore is so enticing and so wonderful, and the scientific approach seems so dry and straightforward and that sort of thing. Still, I love hearing those whistleblower type stories because if even one of them turned out to be true, it would change everything. Imagine if tomorrow the government said, yeah, we have a craft not of this earth, and here's the proof. It would be the biggest news in human history. But until then, we have to treat stories like Corsos and lasers as intriguing anecdotes rather than verified facts. So, what have we uncovered in our exploration today? We've journeyed from ancient temples potentially touched by alien hands to modern secret bases possibly hiding otherworldly tech. Along the way, we heard about officials and astronauts who were convinced aliens are real and maybe even here on Earth. We also heard the firm voices of skeptics and scientists who find no hard evidence about these claims. It's a balance between investigative curiosity and scientific skepticism.
It's clear that the idea of alien visitations, past or present, has a huge hold on the human imagination. And it's not all crackpot stuff. There are serious people who've looked into this. Historically, unexplained encounters have prompted government investigations, from Project Blue Book, as we said, to today's Pentagon UAP office. They just keep finding ordinary explanations. There's simply not enough data for extraordinary ones. As one recent report put it, many cases remain unsolved, but with more data, they'd likely turn out to be ordinary phenomena. In other words, there's no smoking ray gun.
Yet we keep searching the skies and the history books because if any of these theories panned out, it would answer the age old question: are we alone? Imagine confirming that aliens not only exist, but they have been here, maybe nudging along our ancestors, maybe observing us from the crowd, maybe shaking hands with government insiders or jumpstarting our science. It's the ultimate mystery. Until we have proof, we have stories, theories, and the thrill of investigation. There are some other issues in here too.
The key takeaway from me is to stay curious, but also stay critical. It's okay to entertain the thought of ancient aliens or secret UFO programs. Lots of great questions arrive from probing those scenarios. We have to differentiate between what is known versus what is conjectured. Right now, much of this is conjecture. Fascinating conjecture with some tantalizing hints and plenty of wild tales, but I'm still waiting for the definitive evidence.
Well said. The universe is vast and life could be out there. Maybe even life that found us before we could find them, or maybe not. Maybe we truly are the first or the only ones in our cosmic neighborhood. And all the UFO hype has other explanations. Until science gives us clear answers, the discussions will continue, and we will be right here having them.
Look forward to that. And on that note, we wrap up today's deep dive. Whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between, we hope we've given you some food for thought. Ancient aliens, hidden ETs, secret deals, alien inspired tech. It's a lot to chew on. If nothing else, it shows how powerfully the idea of alien contact captivates us.
Yes, just want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. Do we have proof that God exists?
No,
Do many people believe that he does?
absolutely, I do.
So it's not unusual to believe things, perhaps things that are don't have a physical, scientific, according to our present day science, proof. So it's not unreasonable to keep your mind open, to look, to speculate, to investigate. And I would say it's important to do that. Even if you're wrong, those kinds of ideas can bring things to the front, can help your mind grow and expand. The possibilities are endless. It reminds me of when we were starting to do these podcasts and we thought we might run out of ideas. Oh my God. No, no, that's not possible. There's no way we can run out of ideas.
Indeed, I think we could have enough ideas between you and I for another 50, 100 years.
I agree with you. I do agree. So, anyhow, thank you very much for joining us on this journey. We're going to be doing more of these and kind of looking at mysteries of a lot of different natures, not just aliens and that sort of thing. There's a lot of mysteries, historical mysteries, other mysteries that just haven't been solved yet, despite all our vaunted science and knowledge. So, again, thank you for joining us. Stay curious, everyone, and keep watching the skies. Who knows what you might see? Bye for now.
Please leave us a like and comment. Until next time, we're signing off here. As Dr. Weaver said, keep asking questions, keep your mind open, and stay grounded. But Maybe keep an eye out for those little green men, just in case. So long, folks.